시절에 땅 위에는 길이 없었다.
The earth had no roads to begin with.
걸어가는 사람이 많아지면
But when many men pass one way, a road is made.
아무도 가보지 않은
We are
길을
pioneering a
개척해
path no one has walked before. Yet no matter how great the challenge, we can prevail as long as we walk together. Through the family movement and the headwing movement for unification, we will forge a path of true love through which all people in the world can love and attend God as their heavenly parent, gradually building the heavenly parent's holy community. Today we can observe problems in the realms of politics, the economy, religion and civil society, as well as between ethnic groups, cultures and nations throughout the world. Though we still haven't found solutions to the problems we have created, the world longs for a new era of peace. The Heavenly Parent's holy community has begun its multifaceted work to resolve conflict and foster harmony. Through the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, good men and women have established a family movement with its ultimate ideal of a global human family. The Universal Peace Federation has provided a forum for ideas and initiatives to support the realization of peace and thus greater happiness for all people. As can be seen from the Africa Summit held in Senegal in January 2018, hosted under the theme Interdependence, Mutual Prosperity and Universal Values, the Universal Peace Federation has reached out to current and former heads of state from all over the world, thus opening many avenues of hope for genuine peace. Then, at the World Summit in February 2019, the International Summit Council for Peace was inaugurated, with the support of present and former heads of state and some 600 leaders representing all sectors of society. There was a sense of God's will and hope touching everyone present with a vision of the ideal direction for humankind.
인류 한 가족이 될 수 있는 모든 나라들이 하늘 부모님 앞에 참다운 형제로서 하나 될 수 있는 그 자리가 바로 우리가 이룩하고자 하는 하늘 부모님이 바라시는 지상 천국이 되는 것입니다. 이 길만이 영전하신 하늘 부모님을 모신 우리 인류가 영전하는 길임을 명심하시며 나와 함께 하늘 부모님을 모신 인류 한 가족 평화 세계를 이루어 나가 주시기를 간구하며 축원하는 바입니다.
Since the launch of the International Summit Council for Peace, the focus has moved to the continental level. The first Summit Council Assembly was held at World Summit 2020, bringing together 120 current and former heads of state and some 7,000 delegates representing all walks of life from as many as 170 countries.
Mundiales, hablemos. Por eso me permito felicitar a los fundadores de la UPF, porque están haciendo lo que otros solo hablan. La UPF y sus fundadores están invirtiendo sus recursos para que los líderes mundiales hablemos, pero también hagamos en cada uno de los lugares donde vivimos y lideramos.
As the Mother of Peace, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon emphasized that it must be an occasion that placed our Heavenly Parent at the center, and she conveyed her blessings for the realization of a world of peace.
우리는 하늘 부모님 앞에 참 효자, 효녀, 충신이 되는 길을 가야 할 것입니다. 오늘날의 세계적으로 처한 모든 난 문제를 해결하는 직단거리인 것을 명심하기 바라며 하늘 부모님의 꿈, 인류의 소원, 지상 천국을 이루는데 주역이 되는 여러분 모두가 되기를 축원합니다.
Participating present and former heads of state put aside their national interest and pooled their experience and knowledge of government administration and the wisdom thereby gained. Based on principles of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and on universal values, they sought solutions to the major challenges many nations face, including territorial disputes, religious and racial conflicts, climate change. And today, the COVID-19 pandemic has led some to forget the importance of mutual cooperation between societies and nations. So today we are taking on one more challenge, and we will persevere and overcome whatever divides us. The civilization that acknowledges the Heavenly Parent has dawned. Until the day all barriers between all people come down, and a world of true love in which all people live for the sake of each other is realized, our path toward peace will continue.
There comes a time when you heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. They are people dying, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere is to make a change. We are all a part of that grieving family, and the truth in our love is our relief. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's no choice to making, receiving our life. It's truly make a better day, just you and me. When you're down and out, there seems no hope at all. But if you just believe, there's nowhere we can fall. Let us realize that the change can only come when we stand together as one. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's no choice to making, receiving all the life. It's true to make a better day, just you and me. It's true to make a better day, just you and me. It's true to make a better day, just you and me.
하늘 부모님 아래 인류 한 가족, 원 패밀리 언더가 신통일세계 안착을 위한
We are
희망
all working
전진대로
together to build a
그
unified
안착을
world
위한
of peace.
카운트다운을
We will now begin the
시작하겠습니다.
countdown to today's rally of hope.
공생,
Interdependence,
공영,
mutual prosperity,
공예, 신세계,
universal values,
신
heavenly
아프리카,
Africa, heavenly Latin America,
중남미,
heavenly Asia Pacific,
태평양,
heavenly Europe, heavenly America, heavenly Japan,
일본,
heavenly Korea. And now today's rally of hope
안착을
begins.
위하여.
Respected Excellencies, distinguished leaders, beloved Channel국 leaders, blessed family, and Ambassador for Peace. My name is Yoon Young-ho, Director General, Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. I'll be your MC for today's historic Rally of Hope for the realization of a heavenly unified world. I'm very pleased to meet you today. I would like to begin by welcoming you all to this rally of hope to firmly establish a heavenly unified world through interdependence, mutual prosperity, universal values. Over 1 million peace-loving leaders and citizens from 194 nations are joined live here at Cheongshin Peace World Center from Korea, Japan, the USA, the Asia Pacific, Europe, Africa, and Latin America. The 1 million people who are with us here online are those who received the ticket. More than 90 million people from around the world are also watching today's event through various national broadcasts and other platforms in all regions of the world. I would like to welcome once again everyone attending today's Rally of Hope. Let us give a big round of applause. Thank you. 환영합니다. Welcome. 관계 이타시마스. Bienvenidos. 환영. Before we begin today's events, let us briefly greet the online participants who have joined us live. Let us meet the honorable participants representing the ISCP, IAPP, IAPD, IMAP, IAED, IAAP. Here are the honorable participants from all regions. Let us welcome them with a big round of applause. Respected honorable participants, please wave your hands to greet the leaders and citizens from around the world. Thank you. Thank you. Next, let us connect with all regions. Let's first connect with heavenly Korea. 먼저 신한국을 연결해 보도록 하겠습니다. 신한국의 지도자
from heavenly
축복받은 여러분,
Korea.
안녕하세요.
Good morning.
안녕하세요.
Good morning.
네, 반갑습니다.
I'm very
우리 서로
happy to
사랑의
see
마음을
you all
담아가지고
here.
제가
I would like to ask you to express your support and love for one another by shouting 사랑합니다 and making a big heart at the count of 3. Are you ready?
하나,
1, 2, 3.
셋.
사랑합니다. We love you.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much.
Next is Heavenly Japan.
Good morning, leaders and blessed families from heavenly Japan. Good morning. Good morning. I'm happy to see you all. I would like to ask you to join me in wishing for the success of this event by shouting, "We are one," at the count of 3. Are we ready? Are we ready? Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. We are one. Thank you very much. This is wonderful. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to introduce guests and their families here with us today from all around the world. 다음 마지막으로 각 대륙, 각 국가의 현장과 가정에서 함께하고 있는 우리 게스트들을 소개하겠습니다. Let us welcome them with a big round of applause. I'm very pleased to meet you. Let us wish for the victory of today's rally by shouting victory 3 times at the count of 3. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. This is so wonderful. I'd like to welcome once again everyone. Today's Rally of Hope is taking place in Korea, and from now on the event will be hosted in Korea. Translation is provided in 9 languages. Please select your preferred languages.
Distinguished heads of state, beloved families, and beloved citizens from all around the world joining us today. The entire human race is suffering as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, which began spreading in earnest at the start of this year. The crisis has had a grave impact on all parts of society: work, school, social life, and family life. In all areas of citizens, it has impacted human life tremendously. Futurologists are trying to predict what the world after COVID-19 will be like, but they admit that they do not know. The coronavirus pandemic has brought fear and uncertainty into many people's lives. So this is a time that calls people to come together, beyond nationality, religion, and race, to jointly overcome this great crisis. Today, as conflicts arise over values and human rights, the world is heading more toward division and conflict than toward harmony. We see racial discrimination, and we witness a tendency toward nationalism rather than patriotism. For this reason, Reverend Sun Myung-moon and Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, the co-founders of the Universal Peace Federation and Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, have emphasized that when people acknowledge God as their heavenly parent, it will be possible to realize a world of lasting peace where everyone lives harmoniously. Only then will a godly, heavenly, unified world of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values be possible. In such a world of one human family, if such a world of one human family is realized, then divisions and conflicts stemming from extreme egotism will cease, and a civilization that flourishes on true freedom, peace, unity, and joy can come about. In February this year, thousands of prominent experts from 170 nations, including 120 eminent current and former heads of state, attended the 2020 World Summit in Korea. They discussed the realization of a God-centered world that would flourish on interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. During the 2020 summit, 6 key organizations were founded that focused on a specific area of human endeavor, including religion, politics and government, the media, academia, and the economy. Leaders in these fields could also look beyond their respective fields to contribute their ideas to lasting world peace. On the basis of this success, on May 8 of this year, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, called by many as the Mother of Peace, launched Heavenly Parents Holy Community to play a central role in promoting the realization of a heavenly unified world and fostering harmony in this world. Today's rally of hope for the realization of a heavenly unified world aims to bring comfort to all of the citizens around the world suffering from COVID-19, racial discrimination, conflict, or hardship. We can work together to bring the world together, one family under the Heavenly Parent, where interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values fully flourish. Today's Rally of Hope is hosted by the International Summit Council for Peace, one of the 6 pillars of the Universal Peace Federation. I believe we will gain a tremendous wisdom towards realizing the aim of lasting peace through the messages we will hear today from eminent world leaders. I believe Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, the Mother of Peace, will also share her vision on the direction for humanity and humankind. Let us now commence the 1 million Rally of Hope for the realization of a heavenly unified world with a thunderous round of applause.
이번 순서는
Let us begin with
평화
a
축원식의
peace
순서입니다.
offering.
전 세계
Representatives
칠개들과
of
세계
the seven major
종단의
religions
대한민국의
around the
7대
world, representing seven
종단
continents
대표자들께서 함께
and religious
해주시도록
realms,
하겠습니다.
will come to
기독교의
offer a
김세방
peace
목사,
offering. Reverend Kim Suman for Christianity,
무슬림의 김동옥
Chairman
재단이사장,
Kim Dong-ok for Islam,
대종교의 원영진 사교,
the Honorable Won Young-jin for Daejonggo,
천도교의 신혜원 동민의 공동의장,
the Honorable Shin Hye-won representing Cheondogyo,
대한천리교의
the
양영,
Honorable Yang Young-ho representing Cheolligyo,
대한불교 조계종의
the
도봉,
Venerable Tobong of Popjusa Temple representing Buddhism,
그리고 마지막으로 세계
and
평화
lastly,
통일가정연합의
Reverend
이기성
Lee Gi-sung
회장.
representing Family Federation for World Peace and Unification.
피스 오퍼링은 초종교
And
합수식과
the peace offering will reflect our sincere heart for the success of this rally, but especially as a prayer for everyone suffering from COVID-19 around the world. First, they will come and pour together a water of peace in order to reflect our desire to bring about peace around the world.
중앙에 있는 라운드
Religious leaders are please requested to come towards the central bowl and put together the water of peace as a symbol of religious unity. 1, 2, 3. Please pour the water of peace into the bowl.
신통일 세계라는 전 세계 시민들의 평화와
And this is a
행복과
special
번영의 염을 담은 합수가
prayer
진행되었습니다.
to wish for peace for citizens around the world.
이번 순서는
Next,
이기성 세계
Reverend
평화
Lee
통일가정연합
Gi-sung
한국회장께서
will read a
고천을
special
낭독해
declaration
주시겠습니다.
to heaven.
고천문
This is a declaration to heaven. Our Heavenly Parent, the Almighty Creator and the origin of all things in creation. Heavenly Parent, as our Creator, you spent eternity and infinite efforts to create the human race as the children of God. The Creator God, you have endured thousands and millions of years in agony due to the fall of humankind. Heavenly Parent, as the Creator, you have wept in sorrow every day, seeing each year people suffering from the effects of war, disease, starvation, and natural calamities. We know that you have shed countless tears seeing the suffering of your beloved children. We are forever grateful for sending true parents to bring great heavenly fortune, living each day as if it were 1,000 years to open the era of Heavenly Parents' holy community. Today, in attendance to our beloved Mother of Peace, we are hosting this 1 million rally of hope for the realization of a heavenly unified world through interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. Heavenly Parent, our mighty Creator, you are the origin of all things in creation. This gathering of peace is a miracle. We are willing to march forward towards a beautiful, unified world of peace, where all people can attend God as the Heavenly Parent, and all people can harmonize together as one family. May the dream of our Creator, the Heavenly Parent, be realized on earth through this 1 million rally of hope. May a day of peace come upon humanity. May this day be a day of universal victory, with infinite blessings are bestowed on the earth, and glory and happiness offered to heaven. as the representatives of various religions in Heavenly Parents' holy community, we offer this prayer before heaven. 아주.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. Once again, let us give another big round of applause to the representatives who have read the special offering to heaven. Next, we will have the peace anthem. Everyone, please rise and let us express our hearts for a world of lasting peace through the peace anthem. Thank you very much, everyone. Please take your seats. Next, we will now have a special message of peace message and prayer. This special message of prayer and message of peace will be offered by Mrs. Paula White, the spiritual advisor to President Donald Trump. Let us welcome Mrs. Paula White with a warm round of applause.
Thank you for the privilege of sharing with you today at this amazing rally of hope. I'm honored to stand before such distinguished men and women. A special thank you to my dear friends, Dr. Michael and Minister Rico Jenkins. There is one word that has great meaning to us all, and that is the word family. Family is the root of everything we are. Family is what binds us together, and family is the cornerstone of world peace. There is one individual who understands and exemplifies true family, and that is Mother Moon. Her devotion, love, extraordinary compassion, and tireless efforts to create models for good governance and strengthening interfaith dialogue has earned her the affectionate title as the Mother of Peace. Mother Moon, I respect and honor you for your perseverance, for being a forerunner nationally and globally, for dedicating your life to establishing international peace and goodwill, and for being a true lover of humanity. You have demonstrated that working with all people, no matter their color, creed, age, social class, or background, is necessary and possible if all people adapt in their hearts love for the whole world based on living for the sake of others as you do. Thank you. You know, God is the author of peace. True peace cannot exist without Him. His word promises us that He will keep us in perfect peace if we keep our focus on Him. We, as the family of God, the church, are called to bring healing to the nations, especially during difficult times. We are positioned to be used as we are walking in His peace and confidence as leaders. Our current world situation with COVID-19 is a great trial. But if we turn to God, we will overcome and prosper. It is vital that we are respectful and cooperate among all nations. This is crucial. Holy Spirit, teach us how to respectfully come in the power of cooperation and agreement to harmonize together, to make a symphony about all that we face as humans in our individual nations. May we bear with one another and make allowances out of love, which comes from you, God. We are eager and strive earnestly to guard and keep the harmony and oneness produced by the Spirit in the binding power of peace. May we commit according to the power of God that works in us to unite in spirit, sympathizing with one another, loving each other as brethren, as family, compassionate and courteous, tender-hearted, and humble-minded. Faith leaders are key to bring heaven's wisdom and insights to the heads of states and elected officials. May your spirit rest upon your men and women of God, filling them with the wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge to be as the tribe of Issachar, which told Israel what to do, having understanding of the times. We become peacemakers by being in harmony with the Lord. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Jesus is our peace. We are accountable to God and each other as members of his household. God, bring your people together and forgive us for any intolerance of one another. Lord, Jesus came and preached peace to us outsiders and peace to us insiders. He treated us as equals and so made us equals. Through him, we share the same spirit and have equal access to you, Father. 2 Chronicles 7:14 reminds us, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land." Could we be in a time of anointed release of the church to see the ancient ruins of God's house rebuilt and the ruined cities, the desolations of many generations repaired? Well, I believe that God is at work. And so I pray right now for the reunification of South and North Korea. I pray that you move mightily. I pray that you release a miracle, God. And I pray over America, protected as a nation, that all nations will be blessed to achieve peace through cooperation. For your word declares that blessed is the nation who calls God Lord. So right now I thank you that there is a supernatural move of peace, and also that you will protect all people for the coronavirus. For God, we can be certain in uncertain times because you are Lord.
Thank you for wonderful peace message and prayer. 여러분 감동적인 메시지와 기도를 해주신 우리 폴라 화이트 목사께 다시 한번 큰 감사의 박수를 부탁드리겠습니다.
Next, it is my distinct honor to welcome the Honorable Ban Ki-moon, the 8th UN Secretary General. It is my pleasure to welcome the Honorable Ban Ki-moon to offer the welcoming remarks. He served as the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations from 2007 to 2016. He devoted himself to the implementation of the UN Sustainable Goals for 2030, and notably during the 2015 UN Climate Change Conference, he led the way to the historic Paris Climate Agreement, which 197 nations ratified, and thereafter many nations developed their climate policy. Honorable Ban Ki-moon currently heads the National Council on Climate Change and Air Quality and is the chairman of the Ban Ki-moon Foundation for a Better Future. Let us welcome the Honorable Ban Ki-moon with a warm round of applause.
Honorable Heads of State, Prime Ministers, First Ladies, distinguished participants from 150 nations and all sectors of the society, representing governments, industries, NGOs, faith-based organizations, women, youth, academia, artists, and media. It is my great honor and privilege to share a few words with you on this historic occasion of the Rally of Hope to support the heavenly unified Korea through interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. Furthermore, I'd like to offer heartfelt words of gratitude to Dr. Hakja Hwan Moon for organizing this precious gathering. For the past 7 years, Dr. Moon has devoted ceaseless efforts to bring together stakeholders from all realms of society to seek innovative ways to build a world of peace and to support peaceful reunification on the Korean Peninsula. Her sincere efforts aimed at furthering the cause of peace have led to successful hosting of the World Summit 2020 last February and have given much support for the declaration at the Asia-Pacific Union. I believe this meaningful gathering will also serve as a platform that lays foundation for Korea to turn itself into an innovative and inclusive nation, as well as an economic peace community on the Korean Peninsula, thereby being prepared for the next century. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as you may already know, the world we are living in is continually facing challenges that threaten peace. Arrogance and material greed have led to territorial disputes, conflicts among religions and ethnic groups, and family breakdowns. Worse yet, they aggravated the imminent threat of climate change and global warming. All this is seriously undermining human dignity. Rampant nationalism is threatening the security of humanity. I have witnessed this brutal reality firsthand, having lived through the Korean War, as well as during my time as a diplomat and as Korea's Minister of Foreign Affairs. However, during my tenure as Secretary General of the United Nations, the historic unanimous adoption by 195 nations of the Paris Agreement during the 2015 UN Climate Change Conference, COP21, became a tremendous turning point for environmental issues, particularly regarding greenhouse gas reduction. However, we are still faced with a particularly daunting set of challenges, all of which have become more pronounced by the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 has indeed become a great threat to humanity. In the wake of this crisis, we have seen the intensification of unsettling trends. I'll mention 4 of them, all of which are interrelated. First is a growing tension between the United States and China, which some call a new Cold War. This trend has and will have global implications, but nowhere more profoundly than here in Asia. Second, nationalism and protectionism are on the rise, resulting in countries to shift away from multilateralism and international cooperation. Third, there remains the imminent threat of climate change, undermining health and security of humanity on many fronts. If we fail to unite as one world community, our very existence will be threatened. Fourth, there is a crisis in values, ethics, and social capital that underpin good governance and stable societies. The new Cold War in the COVID era, nationalism and protectionism, climate change, and the crisis of social capital are the clear manifestations of nature's stern warning to humanity. We need to heed this warning, and with foresight and empathy, seek for practical ways to coexist with nature. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, governments alone cannot address the challenges of our time, not to mention COVID-19. The role of NGOs is very important. If we are to achieve our goals, such as the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, there should be a broad set of partnership forged particularly between government and civil society. Building partnership across a wide range of sectors is imperative if we are to build a better world. In this respect, I highly applaud the work initiated by Dr. Hakja Han-moon for setting examples. I believe that the Universal Peace Federation and its broad set of partnerships in the realms of politics, religion, academia, media, economy, arts, women and youth serve as a good model. I believe the Universal Peace Federation will become a cornerstone to build lasting peace around the world and the heavenly unified Korea based on interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, peace is not an issue that is exclusive to one individual or a nation. Peace is our common wish, the long-cherished desire. I believe that lasting peace will only get stronger when government and civil society closely partner with one another. Now is the time for us to build bridges, not to erect walls. If we work together, there is no challenge that is too great, no obstacle that cannot be overcome. Regardless of our national, ethnic, racial, religious, or political backgrounds, we are the members of one human family. Let us respect and support one another to achieve world peace and move one step closer to peaceful reunification on the Korean Peninsula. Once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Hakja Han-moon for organizing today's Rally of Hope to support the heavenly unified Korea. May all of you and your family be filled with happiness and blessings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us thank former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon for his stirring message. Thank you very much. As we get closer, we can get closer to a peaceful world through love and through peace. There is hope for the future. Welcome once again to the Rally of Hope. Next is a time for congratulatory remarks. Two globally renowned speakers have kindly prepared remarks for this convention. The first congratulatory address will be given by the Honorable Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. The Honorable Gingrich served as the member of the U.S. House of Representatives from 1979 to 1999 and as the 58th Speaker of the House from 1995 to 1999. He is currently a policy advisor to President Donald Trump, and his wife, Mrs. Callista Gingrich, is the current U.S. Ambassador to the Vatican. Let us welcome former Speaker Newt Gingrich with a warm round of applause.
first of all, I want to welcome all of the distinguished heads of state, parliamentarians, and leaders who have come together for this Rally for Hope. I think what you're doing, the time you're spending, your involvement, is very important in a very troubled world. And I think that what Mother Moon has done in carrying on the work of her husband, in building a worldwide movement committed to the concept that we can find ways to talk with each other, we can find ways to work together, and that we need to place more emphasis on peace and on seeking a better future than on war. And I think it's a very important thing that you're doing. And so this meeting is another step in the right direction. I've participated in several, and I know that the work that has been done by the Washington Times, really not just in America, but around the world, is a key part of that. And that the influence the Washington Times has built in the United States in carrying this message of hope and this message that together we can find steps in the right direction. Bringing North Korea and South Korea closer together. Finding a way for Korea and Japan to have a better way to dialogue. I can tell you, in the meetings I've been in both Korea and Japan, it's been remarkable the number of people who have come out and who have been involved. I can also tell you that Congressman Dan Burton, who heads up the International Parliamentarians for Peace, is just doing a remarkable job. I've known Dan for many years. He is deeply committed. He is hardworking. He's courageous. He has great contacts in Washington. And now, frankly, working through the Universal Peace Federation, he has great contacts around the world. And he really is committed to bringing people together. So I think this meeting that you're now engaged in is an important step, frankly, at a time when the world's very troubled. Between COVID, the economic difficulties, all the things we're seeing, we need more effort to follow the path of Reverend Moon, to recognize that seeking peace, seeking understanding, working together is the key to a successful future. And so I think you taking your time to be involved in this meeting is really important. I hope you have a very successful meeting. I hope to see a number of you later on this fall when we hope to have some meetings once we get past the epidemic and are able to once again get together in places like Washington, D.C. And I can tell you, I would really look forward, along with Dan Burton, to welcoming a whole bunch of parliamentarians and government leaders to come together to share ideas and to develop a better path for the future. So please allow me, as somebody who's fascinated with this process, who's really enjoyed working with the Washington Times in thinking through new ways to communicate with the American people and around the world, and who's convinced that what Mother Moon is doing in carrying on her husband's work, the work that together they launched, is truly a historic mission and one that's worth your time, your effort, and I hope you'll tell your friends that there is hope for a better future. You know, we're in a period of such extraordinary change, having a worldwide pandemic, which is affecting every single country in the world, having an economic crisis caused by the pandemic, which is affecting every country in the world, watching various problems evolve and emerge in ways that could lead to a much more violent future, or with leadership, with people talking with each other, could lead to some really interesting breakthroughs and some real opportunities for cooperation. So when I look at what's going on around the world, I think to myself, this could be the beginning of a long decade or more of difficulties, of feeling really psychologically let down, of depression, of despair, or with the help of people like yourselves, people who are willing to spend their time and their energy providing leadership, offering hope, we could come out of this cycle with a new burst of enthusiasm for a better future. So I'm an optimist. Yes, we have challenges. Yes, there are difficulties. But I believe that we can in fact work together. All of you are an example of this. We can reach across national boundaries. We can reach across partisan differences. And we can find a way to create a dramatically better future for our children and our grandchildren. And by doing it together, we actually create a better future for the entire human race. So count me in as an optimist. Count me in as somebody who believes that each one of us can make a big difference. And together, I think you're going to find that this meeting is one of the building blocks of creating that better future.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your visionary support for Mother Moon and the work for peace. 감동적인 축사를 해준 우리 깅그리치 전 하원 의장께 여러분 다시
Round of
한번
applause to the
큰
Honorable
감사의
Newt
박수를
Gingrich
보내주시면 좋겠습니다.
for his moving address.
Thank you. 또 한 분의
Next,
축사자를 모시고
now is the time to the second congratulatory address. The second congratulatory address will be offered by the Honorable Tate Chuichi, the former president of the House of Councillors of Japan. He served 3 terms as a member of the House of Councillors and served as its 31st president. He was recently awarded the highest honor of Japan, the Grand Cordon of the Order of the Paulownia Flower. He spoke at the Japan Summit hosted by Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon in Nagoya in 2019 and at the World Summit 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium the Honorable Tate Chuichi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tate Chuichi and I served as the president of the House of Councillors. I participated in the World Summit 2020, which took place in Korea. To my honor, I was able to give remarks on behalf of Japan in front of leaders of various walks of life, including heads of state and top government officials from all around the world, while Dr. Hak Ja-han was present on the stage. Even thinking about it now, I can feel the great sensation I experienced then. At the time, COVID-19 was beginning to spread to Asian nations. As soon as I returned home, infections were reported in Korea and Japan. The fact that the summit was held and not affected by COVID-19 made me feel that God is with this movement and protected us. Dr. Hak Ja-han said in her keynote address, human-centered selfishness has exhausted not only human beings, but also the beautiful earth. It is not possible for humanity to become one with thoughts and ideas centered on selfishness. We must properly understand God, the Creator, who is the origin of the universe. I still keep these words in mind. I was deeply impressed by the sight of Dr. Han expressing her beliefs with dignity in front of heads of state and dignitaries from around the world. It is in times like these when the International Summit Council for Peace needs to fulfill its role. I believe that it is timely and profoundly meaningful. I think that we live in an age when the values of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values advocated by Reverend Sun Myung-moon and Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon are deeply needed. The Japanese translation of Dr. Han's autobiography, Mother of Peace, and God Shall Wipe Away All Tears from Their Eyes, was published this past March. Many Japanese politicians, scholars, and leaders in religion and business are providing reviews that show they were deeply touched after reading it. If you compare the conflict between the countries of the world to a fight between siblings, what the world needs now is someone who can be like a mother to all humanity, who reconciles all siblings. I sincerely hope that under the guidance of Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, the activities of the International Summit Council for Peace can show the way to solve the various problems the world is facing, taking a strong step toward the realization of world peace. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Tate Chuichi. Let us give a big round of applause to the Honorable Tate Chuichi for an inspiring message. Now is the time to listen to the keynote addresses in the Rally of Hope. We are honored to invite 6 eminent and distinguished world leaders to deliver keynote addresses. Our first keynote address will be offered by His Excellency Samdech Hun Sen, Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia. As Prime Minister of Cambodia since 1998, His Excellency Samdech Hun Sen has led his nation in remarkable economic growth, especially during the current COVID-19 pandemic. His well-executed response to the virus has become a model case for the quarantine response. In particular, he was praised globally for his generous response towards foreigners in his country. In 2019, His Excellency welcomed Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon to the Phnom Penh Peace Palace and also hosted the second Asia-Pacific Summit. He showed his support for the Asia-Pacific Union advocated by Dr. Moon and expressed his support through the Phnom Penh Declaration. His Excellency Samdech Hun Sen also gave an important message at the 2020 summit earlier this year in Korea. Let us welcome His Excellency Samdech Hun Sen with a warm round of applause.
Excellencies, distinguished leaders, Honorable Hak Ja Han Moon, co-founder of the Universal Peace Federation, Honorable Jose de Venecia, co-chairman of the International Conference of Asian Political Parties, Dr. Thomas Walsh, President of the Universal Peace Federation, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today I have a great honor and pleasure to address Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the virtual summit on Rally of Hope, organized by the Universal Peace Federation. The theme, Rebuilding and Renewing Our Nations in the Post-COVID-19 World, Interdependence, Mutual Prosperity and Universal Values, is especially important and vital at a time when all nations around the world are struggling to fight COVID-19. As we are all aware, COVID-19 has been threatening our daily lives, customs, lifestyles, economies, and societies in all countries around the world. So far, no one knows when the COVID-19 crisis will end. And no one can precisely estimate the impacts of the pandemic on all aspects of each nation, including their economy, politics, and social order. For Cambodia, we can assess that the situation of COVID-19 is not so serious, given that there has been no community transmission in the country. The current infection cases are all imported, and there has been zero mortality. Like other countries, Cambodia has put in place stringent measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 by establishing 3 fronts. 1. Preventing the recurrence of imported cases into Cambodia. Secondly, preventing community transmission. And third, providing treatment to the infected. To ensure the highest level of efficiency, Cambodia has established a national committee to combat COVID-19 as a joint central command to lead, launch and promote the implementation of all adopted measures. So far, the fight against COVID-19 in all countries has largely concentrated on their own domestic measures. However, in the context of globalization and regional integration, I believe that the fight against COVID-19, as well as the socio-economic recovery after the pandemic crisis, cannot be solved at the national level. It requires deepening and broadening international cooperation in all fields. This means that the international community must work together to turn the fight against COVID-19 into a common battle. In this spirit, allow me to share some views as follows. Firstly, the spread of COVID-19 pandemic has posed unprecedented challenges to our public health security, disruptions of gatherings, and the functioning of the global supply chains, all of which are seriously impacting livelihoods and aggravating global economic downturn. In this context, a joint response and universal solidarity aiming at supporting multilateralism become even more urgent. In this regard, while the world is awaiting a breakthrough in vaccine development, Cambodia is calling for the adoption of the vaccine as a global public good, public benefit, to which people anywhere and everywhere can access. Secondly, we must avoid racism and the blame game, which lead to disunity, as the whole world needs to join hands to fight this pandemic. In the spirit of humanitarianism and international solidarity, Cambodia granted permission to the MS Westerdam cruise ship with more than 2,200 passengers on board to dock in Cambodia on February 13th, 2020. Cambodia not only provided treatment to the infected Cambodian nationals, but has also treated infected foreigners in the country. Third, moving forward, we need to be strategically well prepared for post-COVID-19 crisis. To realize this, we should develop a specific recovery plan by setting out a number of scenarios for a gradual reopening of cross-border travel and trade between countries in the region. and for recovering the sectors severely hit by the crisis. Fourth, we must continue to strengthen cooperation in promoting globalization and in strengthening multilateral mechanisms to ensure a conducive environment for promoting economic growth, eradicating poverty, and improving people's livelihoods. We must ensure that our cooperation mechanisms remain open and supportive of the multilateral trading system, especially in accelerating our social and economic connectivity to advance the development agenda of each country and to achieve a global agenda of sustainable and inclusive development. Fifth, building and maintaining peace and security in the world is an indispensable foundation for development. Therefore, building and maintaining peace and security is a must, and it should be given the highest priority of each country. Peace cannot be attained by chance. We must promote mutual love, mutual respect, and the value of humanity. We must coexist peacefully and harmoniously and respect the diversity of faiths, religions, and cultures within and between societies. In closing, may I call upon all leaders to register a high level of goodwill and responsibility to respond to this global challenge and to maintain a conducive environment for peace, stability, and harmony, for the development and prosperity of all nations. Cambodia is ready to contribute to this noble goal together with all stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency Samdech Hun Sen, thank you for that invaluable message. Let us give a big round of applause to His Excellency Samdech Hun Sen. Yesterday, I was able to contact Dr. Chong Shik-yong and Honorable Eknat, but right now this is the Facebook of His Excellency Samdech Hun Sen, and tens of millions of people are watching today's rally, and together with True Mother, the 2020 World Summit photo, and also the method of registering into today's rally of hope is explained in great detail. So millions and millions of people are now watching with us. And also the national television of Cambodia is showing today's Rally of Hope live, together with more than 70 broadcasting stations around the world. 90 to 100 million people are watching today's Rally of Hope. 1 million people are registered, but more than 100 million people are watching today's event. Let us give everyone a warm round of applause. Your Excellency Samdech Hun Sen, Thank you very much. Next, let us welcome our second keynote speaker for today. The second keynote speaker is His Excellency Macky Sall, President of the Republic of Senegal. He was inaugurated as the fourth President of Senegal in 2012. He has been a model of good governance, promoting a presidential term limit, transparent policies for economic revival, and exemplified a mature brand of democracy. During the World Summit 2020, His Excellency Macky Sall received the fourth Sonak Peace Prize, which was founded by Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon. Also notably, in January of 2012, His Excellency President Macky Sall hosted the first inaugural Africa Summit, and he was re-elected to a second term last year. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome His Excellency President Macky Sall of Senegal.
Honorable Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, ladies and gentlemen, as a Sonak Peace Prize laureate, I am happy to join you for the Universal Peace Federation's Rally of Hope 2020. I would like to first salute the legacy of the esteemed founder of UPF, Reverend Sun Myung Moon, whose centenary we are celebrating this year. I address my affectionate tribute to the Honorable Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, who pursues with such love and generosity UPF's ideal of peace and human brotherhood. This Rally of Hope is taking place at an unprecedented time in history, when the whole world is bearing the brunt of the brutal impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to being a major health crisis, the virus has deeply disrupted our living conditions and our social relations. Education systems are in jeopardy, economies are at half-mast, companies are in trouble, and workers face a precarious situation. The COVID-19 pandemic ignores borders, social, ideological, and geopolitical considerations. It brings to light the limits of the most sophisticated healthcare systems and shows us our common vulnerabilities. Men and women, young and old, rich or poor, countries of the North and the South are all equally affected. To date, COVID-19 has not revealed all of its secrets, and there is still no medicine or vaccine to fight it. In the face of so many challenges and uncertainties, faith, confidence in science, and the resolve to act together will help us maintain hope, overcome trials, and overcome our common vulnerabilities. We need to act together, because just as the virus has circled the planet in a few months, it will remain a threat to everyone as long as it continues to be active somewhere in the world. Self-centeredness is not an option if we are to bring victory. Rather, we need to work in solidarity and human fraternity, as UPF has always done. This is what prompted me, on May 14th, to co-sign the international appeal so that the future vaccine for COVID-19 is a common good, free and accessible to all countries. In the same spirit, I salute and support the Rally of Hope 2020, which brings us together so that the post-COVID-19 world will be a better place for everyone. I send you my warm congratulations and wish your event to be a complete success.
Merci beaucoup, Excellence, pour votre message d'espoir.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Let us give another big round of applause to His Excellency President Macky Sall for his moving message. Now, Korea, Japan, and Asia, we are in the same time zone, but Africa, Latin America, and Europe, it really is a different hour, but they're all together with us. And not long ago, through the Washington Times and IMAP, Dr. Tom McDavid sent me a message, and right now 1.4 million people are not just watching this event live now, but 100 million people are watching this rally of hope through various broadcasts around the world. Let us give a round of applause for all of the participants in this rally of hope. Now is the time for a congratulatory song. We have two important artists representing Korea. First, the former Minister of Culture and Tourism, Kim Myung-gon, and Pageri, who is a Korean traditional musician. Minister Kim Myung-gon has shown his outstanding acting skills through theater, musicals, film, and TV. He's an actor, educator, and policymaker who has caught the hearts of the Korean people. Recently, his dramatic operatic performances have led him to be called a meeting point of all genres. Pageri, the Korean traditional Korean musician, is certified in the pansori singing style. She is a leading actor of the National Changguk Company. She has won the National Namdo Folk Song Contest, Grand Presidential Prize, the Korean Traditional Musician Award at the Korean Broadcasting Awards, and the KBS Pansori Award and Grand Prize. First, Mr. Kim Myung-gon will perform, be followed by Pageri, and then we'll hear one more song from Minister Kim Myung-gon. Let us welcome the two singers with a warm round of applause. Minister Kim Myung-gon will sing Santa Lucia.
Venite alla 같이 하나 되어 신명나게 한바탕 돌다 나가보세. 날 좀 보소, 날 좀 보소, 날 좀 보소. 동지 섣달 꽃 본 듯이 날 좀 보소. 하리하리랑 스리스리랑 하나리가 났네. 아리랑 고개로 넘어간다. 하리하리랑 스리스리랑 하나리가 났네. 아리랑 고개로 넘어간다. 아리랑 고개로 넘어간다. 날 좀 보소, 날 좀 보소, 날 좀 보소. 동지 섣달 꽃 본 듯이 날 좀 보소. 하리하리랑 스리스리랑 하나리가 났네. 아리랑 고개로 넘어간다. 하리하리랑 하리하리랑 스리스리랑 다 같이 불러보실게요. 하리하리랑 하리하리랑 스리스리랑 스리스리랑 하리하리랑 스리스리랑 하리하리랑 나를 버리고 가시는 이 심리도 모르고
Thank you very much. These were beautiful performances, and I'm well aware that these are very beautiful songs, but especially during the boarding song, we have participants and VIPs from Europe and Latin America looked so moved. Let us give another big round of applause from Minister Kim Yong-gon and singer Pageri for their wonderful performances. Respected Excellencies, beloved, blessed families, ambassadors for peace, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time to welcome the host of this rally of hope for the realization of a unified world, the Mother of Peace, to listen to her special address. Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon has devoted her entire life to a life of true love, to realizing a world of eternal peace. Since the ascension to heaven of her husband, Reverend Sun Myung-moon, in 2012, she has carried on her mission night and day with all of her heart, fully investing herself in creating a world where we can all experience Heavenly Parents' love. Despite the difficulties of moving around the world, dealing with various physical challenges, Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon's dedication to realizing a world of lasting peace has remained unwavering and transcends national borders, race, and religion. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, the Mother of Peace, with a thunderous round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon is joining us. She has come to deliver a special message of hope at this rally for the realization of a heavenly unified world through interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. This rally heralds the beginning for the realization of a lasting world of peace, to help all of humanity to see that we are indeed one family under the Heavenly Parent. Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon is recognized as the Mother of Peace, having lived a life of true love solely for Heavenly Parent and humanity. She never had the leisure to take off her shoes for her own sake. She has gone everywhere from the lowest to the highest of places. Let us welcome her with a thunderous round of applause. Beloved Heavenly Parents, holy community, and respected excellencies, beloved blessed families, members and peace-loving citizens from around the world. I have waited a long time to speak with you again. I'm very pleased to speak with you today. Respected heads of states, prime ministers, and high office holders, respected religious leaders, excellencies, and dignitaries from around the world, in particular at the time when various challenges are facing today's world. Heads of state who are working tremendously to take care of the health and well-being of citizens around the world. And this challenging time, our wish remains the same. Through interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, we wish to realize one family of humanity under the Heavenly Parent. This remains our earnest desire.
인류 역사는
However, when we look at human history,
전쟁의
until now, human
역사입니다.
history has been
오늘도
a sad one of
지금도
continuous
진행되고
conflict.
있습니다.
Even now around the world,
왜
conflicts
이렇게
are happening everywhere.
희망된
Why is it
미래가
that
보이지 않을까요?
at this time it is difficult to see a future filled with hope?
창조주께서는
Originally, the Creator
당신의 꿈을 지상에서
had a dream.
자녀들과
Heavenly
함께
Parent wished to
지상
realize the ideal of
이루려
the kingdom
하셨습니다.
of heaven on earth together with His
그러나
beloved children.
예상치
However,
못한 인간의
Due
타락은
to the unexpected fall
오늘날과
of the
같은
first human ancestors,
전쟁의
today's
역사로
world
점철돼 나왔습니다.
is remembered to be one of continuous conflict.
타락하지 않은 만물 세계는
However, when we look at
창조의
nature,
순리대로
nature
나오고
moves
있습니다.
according to the principles which God created, the
예를 들어서
principles of creation. For example,
제왕 나비의
when you look at the
예를 하고자
monarch
합니다.
butterflies, you can see an
여러분도 다
incredible
알다시피
example. As
나비의
you are all
일생은
aware,
짧습니다.
the lifespan of a
그러나
butterfly is
몸
relatively short.
길이가 3cm
However,
밖에 안 되는
despite having a
이
wingspan
제왕나비가
of less than 3 inches,
카나다에서
the
여름을
monarch
살고
butterflies
겨울을
travel
지내기 위해
in the summer from
수천의
Canada,
킬로미터를 날아
flying thousands of
멕시코까지
kilometers
갑니다.
all the way to Mexico in the winter.
걸리는 거리는
The distance
2개월이 넘습니다.
is so great that it takes
거기서 다시
2 months for the butterflies to reach their destination.
부모가 걸어온 길을
And through this
한 번도
process,
가보지
we can
않은
see
길을
the path that true
제왕
parents
나비는
have pioneered.
날라서 갑니다.
And these monarch butterflies make this migration along a route
이것이
that only the parents had taken before.
순리입니다.
We can see the principle of nature in action.
동물 세계도 마찬가지입니다.
It is the same in the animal
인간이
world.
파괴하지 않으면 창조의
If
순리대로
human beings had not abused and
수를 조종하며
destroyed nature,
그 종을
then
지켜나가고 있습니다.
we can see that animals maintain their species and also maintain their reproduction in accordance with principles of creation.
오늘 우리는
Today, we
인간이 타락해서
come to the
잘못되었다 했습니다.
realization that due to the human fall, countless calamities have befallen
잘못된
humanity,
인간에게는
and fallen
창조주와의
humanity
관계가 없다는 얘기입니다.
cannot have the original relationship with the Creator.
창조주께서는
The Creator
원칙을 바꿀 수는 없습니다.
cannot change the principles with which He
그리하여
created heaven and earth.
수고로우신
And that is why Heavenly Parent
탕감
has had
복귀
to walk
섭리를
the long and
이어나오셨습니다.
arduous path
얼마나
of the history
힘들었으면
of restoration through indemnity. How
육체를
arduous must have this path been that it took
대한반도에서
6,000 years before
당신의
until in the
창조
Korean
이상을
peninsula, individual who could realize Heavenly Parent's ideal of creation
1960년대
was
참 부모가
that in
탄생되었습니다.
1960, true parents emerged before humanity.
이 반도의
In the Korean
하늘의
Peninsula,
복입니다.
this is the homeland of
축복을
heaven's
받은
providence.
민족이나 개인은
Any individual who receives
앞에
heaven's blessings
책임을 해야 됩니다.
must fulfill its responsibility before heaven.
과거
In the past,
인간 조상이 될 아담 해와가
Adam
그
and Eve
책임을 못해서
were meant to become
타락한
the first
세계를
human
만들었습니다.
ancestors. However,
그렇다면
because of their fall, they engendered
6,000년 만에
fallen humanity.
참
And for the
부모를
first time in the
탄생시킨
6,000 years,
이 민족
true parents
대한반도
emerged in this
어떻게
country, in the Korean
책임을 해야
peninsula.
되겠습니까?
Hence, what should this people of Korea and this
길은
peninsula
하나입니다.
fulfill as its responsibility? There is but one path.
하늘 부모님을
It is
모시고
to
하나
attend
되는 길밖에
God
없습니다.
and unite as one, centering on God as our heavenly parent.
창조주께서는
The Creator
우리의 부모이십니다.
is our parent.
그동안
Until now,
부모를 몰라보고 불효한
countless
인류입니다.
ages
이
of humanity
불효한 인류
have
앞에
failed to recognize God as the
참
heavenly
부모가
parent
나타나
and failed in the filial duty
다시
as God's children.
거듭난
But now the true parents have emerged. A new history
축복
has
행사를
begun
통하여
through the marriage blessing, where
하늘
fallen
부모님의
human beings can
자녀로
return to God's
입적시켜주는
bosom
것이
as
축복
God's
운동입니다.
beloved children. That is the essence of the blessing movement.
공생 공용
We speak of
공의,
interdependence, mutual prosperity,
통일된
and
인류
universal
한가족의
values.
공동체.
The realization of a
중심에
unified community of
하늘
humanity
부모님이
under the
계시면
heavenly parent. As long as heavenly
모든
parent
문제가
remains the center
해결됩니다.
of any community or
그러나
family or society,
오늘의
all
세계는
problems can be solved. However,
이기주의,
in today's
민족주의,
world, we can see that nationalism, selfishness
하늘과는
are
먼
rampant.
관계에
These are characteristics
기관이나
that
조직들이
are
많이
far
있습니다.
from heaven's wish.
우리가 가야 할 길은
There are many organizations and
부모를
initiatives
찾아가야 합니다.
that do not recognize God. Our
부모를
duty is to seek
바르게
for our true
선택에
parent, the heavenly
지상에서
parent.
모시다가
If we live a life of
생을
true
다하여
attendance to the heavenly parent
저
on earth,
세상에
and
영원한
upon
세계에
the ascension to the
천국에
eternal world,
입적할 수
we
있는
can
것입니다.
enter the kingdom of heaven in heaven.
생각해 보세요.
Please think about this.
축복을 받지 않는 새롭게 거듭나지 않는
Unless
가정은
you receive the blessing, you cannot be born again as a blessed family.
하늘 부모님의 자녀가
And
될 수 없다 했습니다.
This family
그러나
cannot be recognized as heavenly
책임진
parents'
가정들은
children. However,
축복받은 가정들은
blessed
책임을
families
해야 합니다.
also have a duty.
위하여
And
사는
that
삶,
duty is to live for the sake of others.
자기만
Blessed
축복받아서는
families cannot
안
be
된다는
content
말입니다.
in keeping the blessing for themselves.
나와
They need
내
to live
이웃과
for the sake of others.
종족과
They need to
민족과
share this blessing
나라와 세계
to
앞에
their neighbors, to their
다
families,
함께
to their society,
하늘
expand the
부모님의
blessing to the
사랑을
nation
받을 수
and the
있는
world, so
축복의
that
자리까지
everyone around the world
함께하는
can
것이
receive
오늘
God's
우리가
blessing.
살고 있는
This is the responsibility that we have, and it is also
목표입니다.
the objective of our existence today.
오늘
Today,
이 나라뿐만 아니라
not just in Korea, but all around the world, due to the ignorance of human beings, climate change is afflicting the livelihoods of billions of people. Originally, God created this beautiful earth, and we can see the impact of environmental destruction. And nations who are relatively better off are exploring space. That cannot be seen as the one true solution to all of these problems. God has created this earth with love, and God wishes human beings to live here in harmony and happiness. And simply seeking to go to space to avoid the problems on this earth cannot be seen as a solution. Our earthly life is limited. How can we live a heavenly life while on this earth? The primary duty is to lead heavenly lives on this earth in preparation to the eternal life in the spirit world. At this moment, an incredible number of casualties has been arising because of COVID-19 and due to natural calamities and also floods. Incredible numbers of casualties and also displaced civilians has occurred. What do you think when you see these terrible calamities? Heaven, God, the Creator, is love. God is our parent. The parent cannot see the children dying and suffering. As a parent, how painful must God's heart be to see His beloved children suffer? We, from this moment, in particular, the people of Korea, the religious leaders, the political leaders of Korea, let us really repent on our knees for our shortcomings and really render glory unto heaven. As a blessed people, Korea has a responsibility of bringing together the people of the world within and guide the people of the world to the bosom of God. This is the mission of this nation's people. We cannot just be ambivalent about this responsibility. Please put aside any thoughts of ambivalence. This is the last opportunity but also warning of heaven to the nation of Korea. It is only when we attend Heavenly Parent that the issue of North-South reunification, that a true unified Korea can be realized. There are many powerful nations in the vicinity of Korea. They are not the center. Heaven
참 부모를 통해서
through true
섭리의
parents,
완성을
is working
하십니다.
to see the realization of the providence.
이러한 하늘 앞에
Therefore, before
충과 효를
heaven,
다하는
let us become filial sons and daughters. Let us become patriots of heaven, of the heavenly nation. May Korea become a nation of virtue that can stand as a
하늘
beacon
부모님을
of attendance to Heavenly Parent before the world. May Korea become the citizen that show the citizens of the world and the nations of the world how to attend Heavenly Parent in our daily lives. I hope that this opportunity may be the starting point of this movement. I send my greetings and blessings to all of you. Thank you very much. Let us give another big round of applause to our beloved true mother, Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, for her precious message. Today, Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, true mother, has given us a special message centering on realizing a unified world of peace, centering on the values of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. It is by attending Heavenly Parent as our parent that we can indeed realize a heavenly unified world. Let us give Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon another big round of applause, please. For Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon has really pushed herself beyond the limits of physical endurance touring the world, and also she came here today to give us a special message. Let us give Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon another warm round of applause to express our gratitude and appreciation for her profound message of hope. Thank you very much. Everyone, please take your seats. And now, all the participants from around the world really showed a big heart on the screen, and this was our filial heart, but it is also the heart with which we want to express our gratitude to one another. Today, Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon gave us a precious message. This really is a message showing us that Heavenly Parent is our original true parent. It is when we attend Heavenly Parent that we can realize a world of unity, peace, happiness, and lasting harmony. Once again, we thank you, Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon. Next, we will continue with our keynote addresses. 4 other heads of state will be speaking today. The third keynote address will be offered by His Excellency Brigadier Rafini, Prime Minister of Niger. When Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon visited Niger last November for the 4th Africa Continental Summit, co-hosted with representatives of the African Union and ECOWAS, to build a heavenly Africa through interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, Niger hosted this special summit. Significantly, a national-level marriage blessing ceremony was held in this beautiful nation. At the time, His Excellency President Mahamadou Issoufou and Prime Minister Brigadier Rafini supported for this summit. Also, at the 2020 summit, Prime Minister Rafini attended the 2020 summit. Let us welcome His Excellency Brigadier Rafini, Prime Minister of Niger, with a thunderous round of applause.
It is with great pleasure that I am participating in this global assembly of hope, which addresses the theme, Rebuilding and Renewing Our Nations in the Post-COVID-19 World. Interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. On behalf of His Excellency Mr. Issoufou Mahamadou, President of the Republic of Niger, I take this opportunity to thank the founder of the Universal Peace Federation, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, the Mother of Peace, for this joyful initiative entitled the Rally of Hope, which allows the participants to convey messages of peace and a new moral, ethical, and spiritual, economic and cultural vision. This fight is one that is led by the Universal Peace Federation. It is the fight for a more just world, a more humane world, a world of tolerance and a more peace-loving way of doing things. Indeed, the founders of UPF consider that it is important today to recognize that living for the sake of others and for the public interest is the basis of development in an interdependent world. Mother Moon, as you so aptly pointed out in the context of this rally, the COVID-19 crisis has created disruption around the world. These disruptions have not only impacted the lives of those infected, their families and their loved ones, and also the lives of the healthcare workers, but they have also affected children whose schools have long been closed, workers who have lost their jobs, and companies that have been forced into bankruptcy. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 crisis has had significant impacts on the geopolitical balance of power, as well as on the global economy. It affects all sectors: religion, government, universities, education, business and the economy, families, the women and young people, the media and the environment. This means that Africa must confront not only the pandemic, but also the need to revive its economy. This fight on two fronts requires an exceptional mobilization of financial resources. Already before the pandemic, Africa needed $600 billion annually to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and those of Agenda 2063, in particular the objectives of its first 10-year plan of 2013 to 2023, among which the structure-providing projects related to the African Continental Free Trade Area, infrastructure, industry, and agriculture. These two agendas constitute the great vision around which all our energies remain mobilized. A decisive step in the implementation of these agendas was taken with the launch in July 2019 in Niamey of the African Continental Free Trade Area. For success to be sustainable, however, and for other projects to be implemented, it is necessary not only to guarantee funding, but also to guarantee stability, peace and security. This is the place to renew Niger's sincere gratitude to all international donors, and in particular to the Mother of Peace, Mother Moon, for her financial support for the operational phase of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and for the implementation of the project for a blessed Africa. It must be emphasized that the scale of the economic crisis that our countries will experience requires financial support that goes beyond a simple debt moratorium. Our countries must be completely deleveraged and in addition provided with fresh resources. Since deleveraging through inflation, a process used by wealthy countries to get rid of their debts in the aftermath of World War II, is not an option, debt cancellation must be carried out despite the inequalities it will generate among beneficiary countries. At the present time, Africa is the least developed continent in the world, particularly south of the Sahara. Its population is estimated today at 1.2 billion souls and could reach 2.5 billion by 2050. It is characterized by its youth, hence an enormous potential labor force and consumers. The democratic transition underway on the continent will provide a highly productive working population with a strong capacity to save money, provided, of course, that young people are trained and educated. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to interfaith dialogue and cooperation, I can confirm that there are universal values that all people affirm beyond race, ethnicity, religion, or ideology. In my country of Niger, most of the population shares the Muslim faith, a religion whose holy book, the Quran, professes the brotherhood of all believers through verse 10 of Surah 49, which deserves to be studied in depth and explained to all humankind. I quote, "The believers are but brothers, so make settlement between your brothers, and fear Allah that you may receive mercy." End of quote. I think it is unnecessary for me to point out to you that we are talking about believers here, all believers. In my opinion, this verse contains the entire universal dimension of Islam, the imperative of peace that it professes as well as its reaffirmation of the oneness of humanity. The President of the Republic, Isufu Mahamadou, and his government are calling on all Nigerians for a cultural renaissance. It will apply this code of values to three areas of modernization: social, political, and economic. Thus, the modernization we want for Niger is the cohesion and stabilization of the family unit, cemented by solidarity that banishes laziness, idleness, begging, and dependence on others. The social modernization that we want for Niger is the detribalization of our society. It is the reduction, in accordance with our constitution, of social relations based on clanism, tribalism, regionalism, and communitarianism. Ultimately, the cultural renaissance aims to rebuild our country on the spiritual, moral, political, and economic levels. So this is the Herculean mission that we are tackling with conviction and determination. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bow to the memory of the Reverend Sun Myung Moon, founder of the Universal Peace Federation. Salute the charismatic dynamism of Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, and pay deserved tribute to all the leaders of this organization. We are committed to making our contribution to the work of the international community for peace and understanding among peoples of the world. Thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup, Excellence, pour votre message de paix et d'unité.
Thank you very much. Let us give another big round of applause for the inspiring message of peace and unity that His Excellency Brigadier Rafini has given us. Not long ago, I had a Zoom call together with His Excellency Rafini, and I was very grateful to see him healthy, happy, but also working so hard for his people and his sincerity and also the hard work he's putting to really bring about a permanent world of peace moved me. He also, as to is Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, well, and this rally of hope is also being broadcast live in Niger, and is also being broadcast live in South Africa, in Senegal, in Latin America, and Reverend Kim Sang-sok of Latin America mentioned that all of the cable TV and national broadcasters are relaying this rally of hope, and right now the current feedback has been very positive, and we can really feel that we are one family of humanity connected together. Next is the fourth keynote address. The fourth speaker is His Excellency Jimmy Morales, former president of Guatemala. He served as president of Guatemala from 2016 until this year. During his time as president, he supported Guatemala's economic growth and national development. In December of last year, he played an important role as the host of the Latin America Summit, and also at the World Summit 2020 this year, he gave an amazing speech during the General Assembly of the International Summit Council for Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome His Excellency President Jimmy Morales with a warm round of applause.
Please receive my warm greetings from Guatemala. I thank the UPF and its founder, the Honorable Mother Moon, for her kind invitation to participate in this International Summit Council for Peace Rally of Hope. I would like to tell you a true story. There was a deadly disease that hit the people. Experts said it started in the East and then spread throughout the world. There was panic in the streets, and governments did not know what to do. So they began to cancel events, suspend activities, and close cities. The economy collapsed, and people realized the fragility of humanity. How familiar does this story sound to you? This happened 1800 years ago during the Antonine Plague, which hit the Roman Empire during the 2nd century. This means that this is not the first time that humanity has faced a disease like COVID-19. One question: if I asked you, what do you want the dawn of the day after the pandemic to be like, what would your answer be? While you are thinking about it, we will review history. In the 2nd century, humanity was hit by smallpox. At that time, the Roman Empire had 2 emperors, Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus. The latter died from the plague, so Marcus Aurelius had to rule alone from that moment on. Rome had just won a major battle against the Parthians, but that victory turned into a terrible tragedy, as the smallpox was brought back to Rome by the legionnaires, killing 1/3 of the empire's population. But what did the rulers and the citizens of those times do to successfully overcome this scourge? First, it is said that isolation in their houses and cities worked, but they realized that it was a temporary solution, because economic activity had to continue. So they arranged that people could travel to other cities on condition of waiting 40 days in isolation before entering a city to carry out activities. And that is precisely where the term quarantine comes from. The second thing they did is that they called the best professionals. Emperor Marcus Aurelius, for example, called Galen, the best doctor of the time, to lead the fight against the smallpox. The third thing they did was that Marcus Aurelius redirected the budget of the empire. History shows that at that time, Rome did not invest in civil works, and the budget was instead allocated to help the most vulnerable vulnerable. Marcus Aurelius did not increase the government debt. On the contrary, he decided to auction the assets of the empire, including his personal assets, to assist and help those most in need. One question: how long will the quarantine last? And after quarantine, will the virus have disappeared? Obviously not. Then we had better appeal to people's intelligence so that they will preserve the means of coexistence and thus preserve their life and health, because as dangerous as a disease is, it is not through running away from it that it will disappear. Emperor Lucius Verus fled from Aquileia during the smallpox plague, but died anyway because the disease caught up with him. This brings to mind the question of a couple who are asking themselves two simple questions. How long will you stay with me? Do I prepare coffee, or do I prepare my life? Smallpox, which plagued humanity in the 2nd century, was not eradicated until the 20th century. We may have the coronavirus with us for a long time yet, and yes, we must attack it, but also we must learn to live with it. In order to reach my conclusion, I will quote Marcus Aurelius one last time. He said, "Adapt yourself to the things among which your lot has been cast, and love sincerely the fellow creatures with whom destiny has ordained that you shall live." First conclusion: this lucky generation had to face the COVID-19 with all the scientific and technological advances that humanity has never had before. Then let's adapt ourselves to living with the physical distance, to improving our hygiene. Let's take advantage of technology to inform and stimulate the intelligent coexistence of our peoples. And let's show our true love to others with solidarity, fairness, equality, and justice for all. My second conclusion: we cannot ask everyone to stay locked in their houses, because the state will not be able to subsidize food and sustenance to the entire population at a sustained rate, much less continuously. If there is no one to produce and pay taxes, people will not be able to subsist. They will have to go out to work and produce, maintaining the relevant precautions. And third, there is encouraging news of a vaccine, which is why all governments and world leadership must advocate that it be free for all people, and that in the case of pandemics, vaccine manufacturers put their solidarity for humanity before profit, and that states bear the cost of the medicine for their citizens with the goal of the preservation of life. Now, I tell you how I would like the dawn of the day after this pandemic to look. Inspired by Mother Moon's autobiography, I would like a blue sky with a radiant sun that illuminates the whole of humanity, giving hope of life to children, young people, and the elderly. And that together, hand in hand, we can walk on a path of health, prosperity, and love. The question arises, what will you and I do after that day? To conclude, I want to acknowledge the effort of Mother Moon, who with her leadership promotes peace, family, and the integration of the world, with the message of united families based on love and fidelity. It is meritorious to recognize that in this difficult time of a pandemic, when everything has stopped, Mother Moon is leading this international summit and rally for peace based on interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, hoisting the banner of the family and under the blessing of God. It is also my wish that in this year 2020, in which the 70th anniversary of the beginning of the Korean War is marked, this summit and rally will inspire the Korean people to raise the flag of reunification and allow the reunion of the 10 million separated families. The reunification of Korea would undoubtedly be the beginning of the restoration of peace in Northeast Asia and a good model for the actualization of world peace. Thank you very much for your attention. To UPF and the Honorable Mother Moon, thank you very much for your invitation to participate in this International Summit for Peace. God bless you.
Muchas gracias, Excelencia.
Let us give another big round of applause to His Excellency Jimmy Morales for his inspiring message of hope. So, 1800 years ago, just as we had the smallpox epidemic, today the world is suffering from the coronavirus epidemic. But Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon has been sharing the vision of one family of humanity under the Heavenly Parent. This was an inspiring message. And also, this is the 70th anniversary of the Korean War, and President Morales spoke about his wish for a heavenly unified Korea. Next is the 5th keynote address, which will be delivered by former President Alfred Moistu of Albania. His Excellency Moistu served as the 4th President of Albania from 2002 to 2007. During his tenure, he carried out many policies for Albania's development. He has also written many research papers in the fields of military science, national defense and security, as a military scholar who earlier served as a Minister of Defense. In October of last year, Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon visited Albania and through the Southeast European Peace Summit, launched an initiative for peace in the Balkan. President Moistu is currently the head of the International Summit Council for Peace in Europe. Join me in welcoming His Excellency President Alfred Moistu with a warm round of applause.
Dear Honorable Your Excellencies, Ambassador for Peace, dear participants, I greet you in this important event, wishing you are all doing well. We are living during a time of crisis, like never seen before, and it's time for both leaders to reflect deeply and build together a board strategy how to move forward as a world family. We are proud that UPF, under Dr. Moon's leadership, has initiated a series of peace talks, webinars to provide a platform for leading figures from the world of politics, religion, academia, business, and the media to contribute to the process of guiding the kind of world that needs to emerge from the current health crisis by identifying the values of independence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. In particular, the rights organized and retired by the International Summit Council for Peace has brought together over 100 current and former heads of states and government to deliberate on ways to overcome the challenges we face because of the COVID-19. I would like to emphasize this point. Monarch Butterflies can be the treasure of Europe. Historically, it has been a confrontation, a land of civilization, religions, cultures, and ideologies. It has been the confrontation lies between East and West. But it can be the bridge, and we know that there is a lot of potential. One of the spirits the Peace Federation is to be appreciated and applauded for its changing and steadfast efforts to support the peace process in the Balkans. Indeed, as ambassadors of peace, we work hard to bring forward the negotiation process. However, in order for all of us to be behind the legacy of peace and cooperation for future generations, all parties should work together, including parents, activism, youth. Thank you, and once again, for allowing me to address this important event and court with you. Thank you very much.
parlament들 스케르체시아 UI. 여러분 멋진 연설을
Thank you
해주신
very much.
알프레드
Let us
모이스트한테
give another
다시
big
한번
round of applause to His
감사의 박수를
Excellency
보내주십니다.
Alfred Moistu, President of Albania, for his inspiring message.
조금 전에 중남미에서요.
And not long ago, just a moment ago, I received a message that in Paraguay, on the national broadcaster, online, on the TV, and also on radio, they're all watching together with us. It is indeed a miracle that everyone around the world is here with us, joined in this rally of hope. It is really a way of bringing together harmony through the values of interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values of really marching towards a world of lasting peace. Next, last but not least, is our final keynote speaker. It is His Excellency Stephen Harper, the 22nd Prime Minister of Canada. The Right Honorable Stephen Harper was Prime Minister of Canada from 2006 to 2016. During his time in office, he implemented firm policies for co-prosperity. He is currently serving as a chairman of the International Democratic Union. And in 2019, he delivered a keynote address which marked the 100th anniversary of Korea's independence movement. And he also attended the 2020 summit. During the World Summit 2019, Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon awarded him the International Summit Council for Peace Medal. And the Right Honorable Stephen Harper has prepared a special message for this rally. And after receiving the medal from Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, he is now working as a member of ISCP. Let us welcome the Right Honorable Stephen Harper, former Prime Minister of Canada.
Bonjour tout le monde. To honorable high office holders, past and present, to distinguished participants from around the world, and of course to our hosts, the Universal Peace Federation, thank you for inviting me to join you once again. For the past 2 years, I've been a guest at the World Peace Summit in Seoul, South Korea. What an experience it has been. Perhaps nowhere else in the world is there such a gathering of experienced leaders from government, business, academia, and faith communities, representing the wide array of global nations and making such a broad contribution to global thought on the challenges facing humanity. As all who have attended can attest, it's an experience without parallel. My congratulations go to the Universal Peace Federation, to your chairman, Dr. Thomas Walsh, to your international president, Dr. Michael Jenkins, and to your Canadian president, my friend, Dr. Franco Fumolero, but especially to Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon. It's due to Dr. Moon's vision and inspiration that a global dialogue of this scale and of this quality is occurring at a time such as this. And what an extraordinary time this is. The pandemic of 2020 is an experience that no one alive today will ever forget. It's an experience that, for better or worse, will leave a lasting and indelible mark upon humanity. Many have compared it to the global financial crisis of 2008-2009. I was Prime Minister of Canada at that time, and there are aspects of this crisis that remind me of those times. But there are some very big differences. For one, this is a significantly more difficult crisis. It's both an economic crisis and a health crisis, and the solutions for the one run counter to the solutions for the other. This is why, contrary to much commentary, we can have no idea which countries, quote, have it right or are, quote, getting it wrong. This is without precedent, and we do not yet know the full outcomes on either front. Another big difference from the global financial crisis is in the realm of international cooperation. In November 2008, shortly after the global financial crisis began, I was part of a meeting at the White House convened by George W. Bush, a meeting of the world's biggest economies and its leading international financial institutions. It was, in effect, the first ever meeting of the G20. In a couple of days' work, we drafted the basis of an international plan to deal with the crisis. Much work remained to be done at the national level, but the outlines of a global response took shape. It involved significant international cooperation and avoided many potentially systemically damaging actions. This time, there has been nothing resembling such international collaboration. And so we've seen a myriad of conflicting economic closures and travel restrictions, a completely unnecessary global oil war, fights over supplies of personal protective equipment, and now the competitive race for primacy and superiority in the development of a vaccine. I wish I could tell you that what we have witnessed is an aberration, but I think the reality is that the reasons for this lack of international cooperation run deep. International institutions cannot function effectively without the cooperation and leadership of the world's strongest powers. Today, there is not such leadership. The United States is not willing to provide it. This is not just about the current U.S. administration. The American public is exasperated with its global leadership role, which has far too often left the United States with wildly disproportionate burdens and obligations for which the American public sees little commensurate benefit. China cannot fill the void for a different reason. It is not widely trusted. And when we look at its role in the early spread of the virus, how could it be? And for its part, the European Union remains focused on the internal divisions that have become much more challenging in the decades since the global financial crisis. So the lack of international cooperation today is very explicable, but that does not mean that this state of affairs is not risky. On the contrary, we're entering this phase of non-collaboration in the world at just the moment when global challenges will be particularly pressing and often do require global solutions. The pandemic is one. Climate change is another. But I'm talking in particular about the global economy. I've been saying three things since March. These were controversial back then, but not so much now. First, the scale of the economic downturn has been underestimated. Of course, analysts have been revising their forecasts and now concede a global GDP drop of at least 5%, which will be well in excess of the financial crisis of 2008-2009. Second, the speed of the economic recovery has been overestimated. There will be no V-shaped recovery. It will likely be 2 years before even the strongest economies return to their pre-COVID levels. Third, the current level of economic and fiscal intervention by governments is unsustainable. These are already multiple times higher than during the global financial crisis. They point to widespread sovereign debt pressures in the next few years and the need for fiscal austerity at precisely the time when much of the public expects the opposite. Watch for this. As the worst of the virus passes, which it will, and as the economic downturn lingers, which it will, the political solidarity experienced in many countries during the pandemic will turn to anger over the economy. Anyone in power today will face that anger, and their survival in that position, especially but not exclusively those seeking re-election, will be in severe jeopardy. We saw this after 2008-2009. Few elected leaders survived that economic crisis. And as I say, this one will be worse in its impacts. As we know, at such times there can be an inclination for leaders and nations to turn to easy but ultimately disastrous solutions: protectionism, socialism, and aggression in international affairs. And that's why it's essential that we understand our interdependence in this world, work together to rebuild our mutual prosperity, and act on shared values rather than zero-sum strategies. It is indeed for precisely these objectives that this Universal Peace Federation Ray of Hope gathering is being broadcast. Now that said, let me just add that it's important we pursue these objectives not simply with our hearts open, but with our eyes open even wider. For example, while we should resist protectionism, we can no longer pretend that countries that pursue purely export-driven growth strategies are free traders. We cannot continue to watch our existing jobs go to those countries while our workers have little opportunity to sell their products or services into those markets. It's essential that countries that pursue such export-driven, managed trade strategies be similarly treated. Likewise, we cannot just pretend that international bodies, like the World Health Organization, are useful in advancing shared aspirations when they put the national politics of some above the international mandate they are supposed to be pursuing. They either must reform themselves or we must seek better avenues of cooperation outside of them. And finally, we must recognize that history shows that the rights and freedoms of ordinary people are critical to creating and sustaining our prosperity and peace over time. In other words, we should not pretend that those states which deny freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law share values with us. We should stand unequivocally for those values and for those who fight for them. As South Korea, Taiwan, and many others in the world have shown, authoritarian rule is in no way necessary or desirable to successfully resist a pandemic. Now, obviously, what I've laid out is a tall order to confront very serious challenges, to do so through encouraging collective efforts, while also being prepared to confront those who undermine our common good. But if there is any organization capable of convening a truly global network of people to genuinely shared efforts, then it is this one, the Universal Peace Federation. Thank you again for giving me your attention, and God bless you in your deliberations.
Thank you to the Right Honorable Stephen Harper for your wisdom and courage to inspire unity and cooperation between all nations.
Let us give another round of applause to the Right Honorable Stephen Harper for his wonderful message. In 2008 and in 2009, international cooperation was possible through such incredible leaders. But as we face the crisis of COVID-19, the leaders of the world need to come together and work together, just as in 2008 and 9. And the Right Honorable Stephen Harper mentioned that initiatives such as Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon's UPF really help in bringing the world together. We have heard the speeches of 6 eminent leaders. Although we may differ in terms of nationalities or location, we are all united in overcoming all of the challenges and the problems caused by COVID-19 and various other problems afflicting today's citizens. It is through interdependence, mutual values, and mutual prosperity and universal values that we can solve these problems. Let us give another heartfelt round of applause to our 6 eminent speakers. Today, we begin a long journey of hope towards the realization of a heavenly unified world. Although we may be different in terms of nationality, religion, race, or culture, we are united in the cause of realizing a lasting world of peace through advocating for interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. It is my sincere hope that these efforts can become a hope, a light to the world, which can help us overcome the challenges we face. I sincerely hope that the call that we can unite as one and overcome these challenges in the next September 6th Rally of Hope. This concludes the Rally of Hope for the realization of a heavenly unified world. Let us end today's rally with a thunderous round of applause. Thank you very much.